In this video, we'll go over the basic expectations of the media bias project, as well as go through some examples to make sure that you're set up for success. First, if you look in Google Classroom in the section titled Unit 4 Readings and Resources, you'll find a number of resources that will be helpful to you in finishing the project. There's a checklist, the overall project requirements and grading rubric, an example completed by your teacher, and a website called mybib.com that will help you with your citations. When you open up the document titled Media Bias Project Example, you'll find this document that is focused on missing teachers or the teacher shortage currently happening in America. This gives a general overview of what a well-done completed project would look like. You don't necessarily have to have yours look like this. If you prefer to do Google Slides, a poster, or a video, that's fine too. We'll go through all of the different pieces of the project, but this is what a finished, completed project looks like in total. The basic prompt for your project is that you need to select a current event or recently trending topic and examine how it's represented in media on both sides of the political spectrum. The work should be completed as a shareable, visual product like a poster, video, or Google slideshow. This is something that you'll have to create yourself and then share with your teacher. The requirements for the project are as follows. You need a creative and attention-grabbing title, context or background information about the topic, an analysis of a left-leaning article on the topic, and an analysis of the right-leaning article on the topic, reflection and observations, supporting visuals and graphics, and an MLA-style works cited page. Some of the different topics that you might choose from are listed here. You're definitely not limited to these topics. If you have something else in mind, feel free. Just check in with your teacher first. So first, let's talk about the difference between left and right. When we say left, we mean liberal, Democrat, or progressive. When we say right, we mean conservative, Republican, or traditional. Here's an infographic that breaks down the difference between left and right in more detail. You can pause the video to look at it in more depth. This is also included in the various documents that are in the Unit 4 Resources section of Google Classroom. The first step will be to find 3 sources about your topic. One of your sources should be neutral or unbiased. 2 of your sources should be biased. You'll want to make sure that one of the biased sources you choose is more left-leaning, one is neutral or unbiased, and one is right-leaning. So for example, looking for unbiased or balanced sources, you'll want to check sources such as Time, Bloomberg, The Hill, PBS, Reuters, Associated Press, NPR, or BBC. These sources generally are reliable and provide information that is balanced. For your left-leaning source, you'll want to pick something from one of these columns. These sources are a little bit left-leaning, these are extreme. Similarly, for your right-leaning source, you'll want to pick from one of these 2 columns. These are slightly right-leaning, and these are extremely right-leaning. When you're ready to start searching for sources in Google, I would suggest searching using the terms of your topic and one of these sources in order to find websites and articles and resources. So for example, if you're wanting to find an unbiased article on the teacher shortage, you would type in teacher shortage and PR, which is an unbiased source. Your first hit that comes up will be an article called Lawmakers Are Writing Rules as Schools Grapple With. If you open that up, it'll take you to a well-written, relatively unbiased, and reliable source about the topic. If you want something that's more left-leaning, you'll type in your topic and one of your left-leaning sources. Slate is a more left-leaning source. The first hit comes up as Why Public Schools Have a Teacher Shortage. and then you'll get a much more biased source, which for this project is what you're looking for. Similarly, with a right-leaning source, you'll type in your topic and then one of the right-leaning media sites. The Blaze is an extremely right-leaning source. First hit talks about to please burned out teachers, schools are closing. When you open it up, it'll bring you to a source that is extremely biased towards the right side of the political spectrum. Again, for this project, you want to find biased sources. Once you've found your three sources, you're going to start with giving your readers some context about the topic. Context is going to be relatively unbiased, background information, and include a brief quote or paraphrased information with your source credited. This should be between 50 and 100 words. So, for example, public schools have struggled for many years with teacher shortages and staff retention, but the situation has grown particularly dire since the COVID-19 pandemic has begun. According to the National Education Association, 32% of educators state that the pandemic has made them consider leaving the profession earlier than they had planned. Many schools across the country are running short-staffed, and some have even had to call unplanned days off due to not having enough staff in the building to keep students safe. So again, just the basic background information about your topic, 50 to 100 words, relatively unbiased. When you're ready to write your analysis of your left-leaning source, this is the procedure you should follow. In your left-leaning source analysis, you'll want to have your article title, where you found it, a pull quote that encapsulates some of the author's beliefs, and then an analysis or summary of the author's tone. This, again, should be between 50 and 100 words. For example, this article comes from the Huffington Post, which is a very left-leaning source. It's titled, "We Can Solve Teacher Shortages, Here's How." The quote that's pulled out for this reads as follows. Surveys and other studies show that reasons teachers leave the profession include inadequate compensation and poor teaching conditions, inadequate investments in preparation and mentoring, lack of administrative support, pressures from recent accountability policies, lack of respect and voice in school decision-making, and inadequate opportunities for learning and collaboration. This is pulled directly from the article. Then, the tone analysis reads as follows. This article has a supportive tone towards teachers and doesn't really mention teachers' unions at all. It is more biased in favor of using government resources and funding to address root causes of teacher shortages, suggesting that taxpayer money should be used to hire more teachers and staff and incentivize current educators to remain in the profession. The author also recommends that districts spend money on local teacher preparatory programs and mentoring partnerships in order to decrease attrition. The author's main rhetorical techniques are appeal to logos and anecdotal evidence. When you're done analyzing your left-leaning source, you'll then want to pick out the right-leaning source and complete the analysis. This article comes from Breitbart. It's called Public Schools Say Teacher Fatigue is Causing Massive Staffing Shortages Despite Being Home for Over a Year. You will again want to make sure you have the article title, the source, a pull quote, and a summary or tone analysis. Again, 50 to 100 words. Pull quote for this article is, "A sentiment felt nationwide by parents is that teachers care about themselves more than they care about the kids," for one Pennsylvania parent. The analysis reads like this. The tone of this article is negatively biased against teachers and teachers' unions. It generally suggests that teachers are lazy and simply do not want to work, implying that teachers stayed home and did not work at all during school building closures. It also states that COVID vaccination mandates are a driving force behind teacher resignations, claiming that some teachers are leaving because they do not want to be coerced into taking an unwanted vaccine. The author mainly focuses on appeals to personal responsibility and anecdotes to make their case. Once you've analyzed both of your biased sources, you'll want to finish up with reflection and observations. This again will be 50 to 100 words, and consider What do these sources have in common? How do they differ? And what is each source's agenda or purpose? The example is as follows. In general, both the left and the right-leaning sources agree that teacher and school staff shortages are a tremendous problem that can have a hugely deleterious impact on students. They differ primarily in their analysis of who or what is to blame for the problem and how best to solve it. The left-leaning source tends to blame systemic problems within the educational system and recommend systemic solutions such as government funding and teacher training programs to fix it, supporting a more centralized, government-directed resolution. The right-leaning source blames teachers, teachers' unions, and government vaccine mandates for the problem and stresses personal responsibility, especially from teachers, and freedom of choice for parents and families to resolve the matter. If you would like to add in your own opinion on the topic, the reflection and observations is a great place to do that. It's not required, but it is an option. The last major piece of this that you'll need to have is a Works Cited page. This is simply a list of all of the sources that you've used in a formal citation. I really encourage you to go to mybib.com and use their citation machine in order to create your Works Cited page. Finally, the only other thing you'll need to consider are the graphics, visuals, and project title. You should have at least one or two well-chosen pictures that represent your topic. The entire presentation should be neat, professional, and visually appealing, and you'll want to have a creative title. If you're still confused, need some help, support, or having trouble getting started, please reach out to Mrs. LP. I'm always happy to support and help you.